Welcome back to the Toybox, where childhood memories meet the legends who made them. Today we're sitting down with a voice that has echoed through generations. For decades, he's been the man behind one of Disney's most beloved characters, bringing heart, humor, and that unmistakable laugh to Goofy. From classic animated shorts to a Goofy movie and beyond, his voice has been a part of our lives for years. Please welcome the iconic voice of Goofy, Bill Farmer. Today we're joined by legendary voice actor Bill Farmer, the voice of Pluto, Goofy, among countless Disney characters. He's a Disney legend, an Emmy nominee, and the voice of our childhood. So, Bill, let's start at the beginning.
Sure.
What was your childhood inspiration? Like, what toys, cartoons,
Oh my God.
shows? What did you watch?
Well, actually, I was a big horror fan. Was probably my biggest, which it kind of took me in a different direction with my career. But as far as animation and stuff, a lot of the old Hanna-Barbera things, Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, of course, Mel Blanc's voices, some of which I've done over the years, like in the movie Space Jam, which I did Sylvester, Yosemite Sam, Foghorn Leghorn, and even got to meet Mel Blanc shortly before he passed, and when we were doing some background voices in Roger Rabbit, which is the first movie I worked on. But growing up, I loved, Frankenstein and the Wolfman and stuff like that, and when I would see especially kind of fantasy pictures like Ray Harryhausen, like The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, I always credit as the movie that said, hey, I want to do that for a living. And of course, in the middle of Kansas, there's no outlet for that. You really can't do too much other than like study acting and do plays in high school. And then in college, I got a degree in broadcast journalism, kicked around in radio for a number of years, and then got into stand-up comedy in Dallas, just on a whim. I developed a lot of voices that I did and impressions and started doing that. And before long, I was actually doing stand-up comedy as my full-time job, which I did for about 5 years before, on the advice of an agent, moved to California. And I moved in August of '86. In December of '86, I got a call from my agent, said, do you do any of the Disney characters? And Goofy was my favorite character growing up, and so I said, yeah, I do Goofy, and I kind of do a pretty good Mickey, not too good at Donald and stuff. They were looking to settle on one voice doing each of the main characters, so you always heard the same one. And gosh, hell, about 1,100 people, they like mine.
So that being said, can you tell us about like the first time that you heard your voice coming out of, I guess, the iconic character of Goofy?
The first time that I actually heard it was with an audience, really. I'd heard it on TV, and you kind of, okay, they picked that take. Why did they pick that take? I think I could have done that better, and that kind of stuff. But the first time that really hit me was on a short that we did that was released theatrically called Prince and the Pauper. And I did about 5 voices in that particular one, including Goofy. And hearing your voice on screen with a live audience reacting to it and laughing and all of that, it's like nothing else I'd ever been through in my life. I loved it. And I was able to get past critiquing my performance and just learning to enjoy it as a separate entity.
So I guess of all the characters that you voiced, whether it's Goofy, Pluto, Foghorn Leghorn, has there been one that like as specifically sticks out to you?
One of my favorites was actually an ancillary character that I've done from time to time, which was Pat Buttram. It was an impression that I did for anyone that ever saw the old series Green Acres. He was Mr. Haney and had a voice like this, and his last movie was a Goofy movie. And I got to talk with him, and he passed away, unfortunately, about 6 months later. But that was always fun, and meeting the actual actor who, Bill, it's nice to meet you, and that was kind of his real voice.
That being said, who were mentors or inspirations to you to, I guess, take influences of their voices, of their styles, or really kind of push you from, you're talking about stand-up comedy to go into the voice acting?
When I came to Hollywood, I took classes, and I always tell anyone that wants to get into the business, take acting lessons. I learned that from a great voice actor, Dawes Butler, who was the voice behind Huckleberry Hound, Yogi Bear, Snagglepuss, about 40-some characters, mostly with Hanna-Barbera. And he was the one that would he had little classes, and I did classes along with like Nancy Cartwright, who went on to do some nice things with Bart Simpson and a lot of other voice actors. And he was the one that really ingrained in us that it's all about acting. It's not voice acting, it's voice acting. Study the acting first.
I guess, was there ever a project that you had auditioned for, or we tried to get off the ground and it just kind of flopped? The almost, I guess you would say.
Oh, there's so many almost. For every one that succeeds, there's probably 100 auditions that go down the tubes and you never hear from them again. Just along in this room, there's so many characters that are so great, and it's such a, it's kind of like playing the lotto for your living. There are, like, for Goofy, there was about 1,100 people that tried out. I was the one that got that.
Wow.
Yeah, and in Los Angeles, there's about 250,000 Screen Actors Guild members, and on any given week, I've heard there's about 15,000 jobs. So on any given week, there's about 240,000 out-of-work actors.
Wow.
So you're working against the odds, but you got to do it because you love it.
You've met so many fans over the years. Has there been a specific fan interaction or moment that you've met with somebody that really stands out?
Well, this is the 30th anniversary of a Goofy movie, and that movie has grown so much over the last years because of the fans. They've discovered it really even more than they did when it first came out in '95. And a guy came up to my table, and he was like crying a little bit and saying, "Man, you saved my life. My dad had left home. We didn't talk. And my mom was like into heavy, she would lock my sister and I in the bedroom while she slept on the couch, and we would watch a Goofy movie. And so you became my surrogate dad." And a lot of people come up that, yeah, I couldn't really talk to my dad, but that movie brought us together. And when you hear stories like that, it's really inspiring.
That being said, I feel like you became a surrogate dad for many of us. As someone who grew up without a dad, you were kind of the same thing for me as well. And as a new father to a 9-month-old, I'm looking forward to introducing her to your whole pantheon of characters.
Oh.
But do you keep any mementos from your times in the studio or different projects you've worked on?
Yeah, scripts mostly, but there's not too much in the way of mementos. But I'm gifted with those from time to time. I became a Disney legend in 2009, which is probably the biggest award that I got. Got my hands imprinted at the Disney Studios, got my award along with Betty White and Robin Williams, and so some pretty good notable people, and I'm very honored with that.
So if we were to look into your nostalgia room, I guess, per se, what's something that we might find that people wouldn't expect?
Oh gosh. Well, they probably would expect a script from a Goofy movie or some of the TV shows that I've done. What they wouldn't expect are some of the artwork that fans bring to me. And some this weekend. I probably have some packed away in my luggage here, where people will do a little 3D printing of Goofy or a painting of me with Goofy, and all of this wonderful work that a lot of the fans are very talented people, as a matter of fact, that they spend a lot of time doing this kind of stuff, and I appreciate that.
And then I guess one final question for you. If you could bring back, reboot, or just reintroduce a character from your entire, I guess, arsenal of voices you've done, who would you want to see come back?
Probably in the show Amphibia, which I did, and it was always designed for 3 seasons. They didn't plan a 4th, and I did a character named Hop Pop, and Hop Pop is a fun character to do, and I'd love to bring him back.
Awesome. Well, Bill Farmer, thank you for joining us here at Back to the Toy Box, and we'll let you get back to the convention and stop stealing your time.
Gosh, thanks. And enjoy the con.
Nice meeting you. That was Bill Farmer, the voice behind Goofy and a true cornerstone of Disney history. It's incredible to hear the stories behind a character who has made us laugh for generations. Huge thanks to Bill for taking us inside his mind and behind the magic. If Goofy was a part of your childhood, whether it was classic shorts or Goofy movie, let us know your favorite memory in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss another trip back to the Toy Box. Next time we'll be catching up with Jeff Brennan, a storyboard artist on Courage the Cowardly Dog, the cult favorite Cartoon Network series that gave us some of the weirdest and most unforgettable moments of the late 90s. Until then, keep that nostalgia alive, and we'll see you back to the Toy Box.